Today I'm going to be showing you how to color grade an outdoor clip to make it look cinematic and making sure that you still maintain a nice skin tone, especially for the females. So let's dive into it. I have this clip of Mohammed Aisha. She was just having a conversation with a friend. This is a clip from a commercial from Ender Sportswear. And I'm going to choose this as the hero frame because she's kind of like putting on a nice smile. And the first thing we're going to be doing again every day is to build a node graph. And I'm going to, on my node graph, going to add a layer, add two more, add one parallel like so, add 1 2 3 last serials, and I'm gonna clean up my node graph like so. All right, the first thing we're going to do as always is to CST from color space transform. We're gonna be transforming our color space, and the first thing we're going to be doing is to change the color space transform from the color space from Escamo3.cine. This was shot on S-Log3 on FX3. I don't really know the difference in between FX3 and FX6 and FX30. I feel like there's the same camera, just different bodies. Let me know in the comments what the difference is. The input gamma, this was on Sony S-Log3. And we're going to change the output color space to Rec 709 and gamma 2.4. That is what I'm doing because today we're not going to be using any LUTs, so don't freak out if you are a beginner. Just go with us step by step. I'm going to be showing you very simple steps to work on the skin tone. And the first thing we have to do here is come onto the balancing of the image. I can see my waveform. I'm gonna reset the view so I can get a clearer view. I'm gonna increase a bit of the the exposure like so. I'm gonna pull down the lifts a bit to make sure that I'm doing great. I'm gonna pull up the gain like so, just making sure that I have nice image, and I'm gonna make it a bit warmer. So on the node number 2, I need to add something warm. All right, let's add something warm. So I'm gonna come to my primary color wheels. I'm gonna crank up the temperature just a bit to just make sure that my skin tone is looking almost nice. I'm gonna come on to node number 3, and what I'm going to do here is add the nice film saturation by right clicking it, changing the color space to HSV, changing the channels to just remain with one channel in the middle, that is the saturation channel. And by doing that, I'm going to remove the channel 1, and I'm also going to remove channel 3, so I have just one channel, that is the saturation one. And how am I going to fix that? Once I increase the gamma here, it's gonna change the saturation of my entire image. And why is that? Because I have just separated the entire image to make sure that I'm just dealing with saturation on this particular node. On node number 5, I'm going to be using the qualifier. And again, don't use the qualifier on 8-bit footage. You're going to have shit footage. All right, so I'm gonna make a selection, Shift H to see what I'm selecting exactly. You have to smoothen this to make sure that you're selecting a nice and easy, selection. Make sure that you're selecting nicely. I don't want the greens. I just want to focus on the skin tones. I'm gonna pull the softness of the saturation like so. Should be lowly saturated a bit like that. It doesn't really have to be perfect. Just denoise it a bit like so, Shift H. And what you're going to be doing with this selection is that you have removed the skin tone from the background. So whatever is not selected is not going to be affected here. It's just going to be affected on the upper node, because once we select the skin tone, it's going to be coming onto the node number 5. That is why it's 4, 5. So whatever is on top is always down. All right, I'm gonna fix node number 5 by going to my log wheels and just push the midtones towards the orange part, like so. I feel like I have exaggerated it, but for the sake of YouTube and for the sake of the assignment, I'm gonna exaggerate it so that you can feel like safe with the skin tone. And one thing I'm also going to be doing over on node number 4 is do the opposite. Instead of now pushing the midtones to the oranges, I'm just gonna push the shadows towards the blue side, like so. Yeah, you can see the difference, like so. So I'm pulling more of blues into the to the shadows. And the next thing I'm going to be doing over here is just pull down the exposure of I need to focus on just one part. And one thing I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be restricting my selection just to affect the skin tones alone. Anything outside the skin tone, that is none of our business at the moment. So I'm gonna change this. I'm gonna increase the size a bit and do what? Tracking, exactly. So once you've tracked it, you can now remove it, and now you can see that we are just affecting the skin tone. And one thing I want to do is just pull down the exposure of the other node, number 4, just a bit and see what happens. So we can see what happens when we pull down the exposure, and do the opposite on the skin tone node by bringing up the exposure and the contrast just a bit. So I feel like the skin tone has a bit of greens, so we can fix that by going into our curves and selecting the hue versus hue, selecting like that, and see what happens. If we can turn her into a zombie, we can still turn her into another zombie. But now we are going to push up just a bit, just a bit. Remember, always the color grading is about tweaks. Don't just go overboard doing crazy stuff with the grade. So make sure that you're always just having a nice selection. I'm gonna add a bit of a contrast on the skin like so. This was before and after. We're already feeling like the skin tone is coming on really nicely. And one thing I'm going to be doing over here on the node number 7 is making sure that I have nice curves. As we always know, I always love to use the editable splines and link this to have the Y channel alone so that you don't affect the colors. Pull this down like so, just a bit. Pull the other channel up so that we can have a nice contrast. Always make sure that your color grade is very simple, because in simplicity less is more. That is what I can tell you. So I'm gonna be changing a bit of that green. I want to bring it down so at least we can lift up the skin tones. By doing so, I'm gonna come to hue versus hue, see what the hues is doing. I feel like it should be more of this side. See what happens. So I'm gonna pull this down a bit like so. Make sure that I'm not affecting the skin tones. I'm gonna come as well to hue versus saturation. Pick that part, the input hue. I'm gonna change it to that side, making sure that I'm not affecting the skin tones. I'm gonna pull down the saturation just a bit. And on the hue versus hue luminance, I'm gonna bring down the luminance of green just a bit, like so. And I already love what we have here. And this is what we were having before, and this is what we're looking like after the grading. I feel like this is so natural, and we can add a bit of more juice by adding glow to the end. And if we add a bit of glow to node number 15, like so, I'm gonna pull down the shine threshold. I'm gonna pull down the composite mode to soft light, and this is what it's looking like. I'm gonna pull down the global blend. I'm gonna pull down the blend to somewhere like so, before and after. I feel like it's already looking nice. And for more juice, as my people usually do on this last node, I'm gonna add a bit of halation to just make sure. I'm gonna pull up the the threshold like so. I'm gonna add a basic grain. That is what I usually do. I'm gonna increase the strength like so, and that is what we are looking at. This is a nice film look, and the skin tone didn't really go overboard. Nothing is really going crazy, but at least we have a nice grade. I'm not a professional colorist, but I'm still learning as well. So if you want us to learn together, just drop a comment. If there is anywhere I went wrong, just let me know as well in the comments. Thank you so much for joining in. I wish that you may subscribe to my channel, and let's support each other on Instagram, Festa Skill.